Good morning, this is Ashley. I've never met anybody who has ever said that they don't like peace. Have you? It's a universal longing, and it goes back way before we were born, and it'll continue on until the end. We're made for peace, and we all carry around, I think, echoes of the Garden of Eden in our memory. A place where there was no suffering, there were no tears, there was no conflict and war, there was no injustice. The very things that we're all grieving, the thing that you're grieving, we long for and just innately know that there's a world where that doesn't go on. There's something unnatural about grief. Even though it's natural to this earth, there's something unnatural in our very souls when we walk through griefs. Jesus said that his peace is not like the peace of the world. Between 600 and 700 years before Jesus was born as a little baby, the prophet Isaiah wrote about him. And in chapter 9, chapter 9, verse 6, "For unto us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace there will be no end." I love that for so many different reasons. I mean, not only was it written so long before Jesus came to announce his arrival, but it just, all these titles of him are answers to some of our deepest longings. Wonderful Counselor. When we're going through things, we need wisdom, we need counsel. Think about how many therapists and counselors and self-help books and people seeking answers. We're all seeking answers to things. We all wish to have perfect counsel. And he is the Wonderful Counselor. Mighty God. I love how he doesn't even just say God, it's Mighty God. When we're weak, or when we feel helpless, or when we feel like, we can't get ourselves out of a situation, we want that strong arm, that might. Or when we've had injustice committed against us, we long for that. And God is mighty. Jesus is called Mighty God, the Everlasting Father. I have a wonderful father on earth, and that's not everybody's story. I don't know your story and how your dad is or was, but God is the Everlasting Father. He's the best of fathers, and he won't change like shifting shadows. And he's the Prince of Peace. And his government and peace, there's no end to that. No matter what government that you are under or I am under, it's not a government of peace. Our politics, and probably your politics, depending on your country, they're always divided. Usually, peace comes at the expense of someone else's suffering in some way. But the government and the peace of Jesus is for everybody, because he is the Prince of Peace. He's the author of peace. Right before he was born, in the book of Luke, the priest Zechariah uttered a prophecy, and I love this. It's Luke 1:79 or Luke 1:78. Because of the tender mercy of our God, by which the rising sun will come to us from heaven, to shine on those living in darkness and in the shadow of death, and guide our feet into the path of peace. That tender mercy of God that desires to guide our feet into the path of peace. And that path of peace is carved out by our Prince of Peace, our Good Shepherd, Jesus. In Philippians 4, we're told, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and petition, to present our requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard our hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Now, when he says do not be anxious about anything, he's not telling you to conjure up peace on your own. In other parts of the Bible, he says, cast our anxieties upon him because he cares for you. Cast your anxieties upon him because he cares for you. But it's giving a way to not be anxious about anything, and that is with prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, to present our requests, and that includes our anxieties to God. And then he says, the peace of God which transcends all understanding. It doesn't make sense. His peace doesn't make sense. And I'm sure all of you have, or many of you have stories of when you experienced his peace and it didn't make sense. I know I have. Like, I remember I had to go to the hospital one time, and it was an emergency. I didn't know if I would survive. But there was this incredible peace and even a sense of joy that was there, and it was noticeable by the staff. I was there by myself. It was during COVID, and it was a real emergency. And yet my heart was flooded with joy and peace and even love for the staff, and even the supernatural ability to remember all their names. And it was over 30 names. I was able to write a thank you card when I got home. And I remember feeling like this is that supernatural peace. It does not make sense. If you had told me in advance what was going to happen to me, I would have been afraid and anxious. But somehow in the moment there was peace. There have also been times of clarity. Maybe I've been wrestling internally with a thought, and clarity comes, and it's not necessarily good news or a good thought, but my heart is flooded with peace in spite of that. His peace often does not make sense. It transcends all understanding, and the Greek word there is our intellect. It transcends the intellect. It bypasses it. But it says this peace, and the word peace is a lack of war. That's the literal meaning of the word here. Will guard, and that is a war term, because it's guard like a soldier. So it's like that lack of war that comes from God, which doesn't even make sense, will guard like a soldier your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus. The only prerequisite to that is a relationship with him. So if you don't have that, let today be that day. You don't have to jump through a bunch of hoops. All you have to do is see your need. One of my favorite hymns, it's called Come Ye Sinners, Poor and Needy. There's a line in it that says, if you tarry till you're better, you will never come at all. And let's see if I can remember. Let not conscience make you linger, nor a fitness finally dream. All the fitness he requireth is to feel your need of him. That's all. If you feel your need of peace today, and if you know that he is the Prince of Peace and where you need to go to find that, all you need to do is ask. Give him your heart. Invite him in. And begin that journey. I promise you, he will be the best friend that you've ever had. He is the wonderful counselor. He is the Prince of Peace. He is the mighty God. His mercies are new every morning. He will never leave you nor forsake you. He died for you when you were his enemy and you didn't even know he existed. How much more will he have life for you now that you're friends? He's forgiven every single thing you've ever done, the things that you've been too afraid to tell anybody. Maybe not even another human knows, and they don't need to know, because he is the great high priest. There is one mediator between God and man, and that is Jesus. In this world, there will be a lot of trouble, but take heart, he's overcome the world. The only thing he requires is for you to feel your need of him.